Assalamualaikum. Hi, hello everyone. My name is Nur Fatini binti Zulgafar from ED2417A, and it is finally our turn for the presentation. So without further ado, let's start. If you are wondering what are we going to learn today in our presentation, we are actually going to learn about leadership and management in schools. But before that, of course, I would like to introduce to you my group members for today's presentation. So let's check it out first. The presenters for today are Nur Fatini binti Zulgafar, Nur Kamalia binti Kamarudin, Nur Shamina Nasuha binti Muhammad Afandi, Nur Syafiqah Jason, Siti Khairul Atiyah binti Muhammad Khairul Aldin, Nurul Naziha binti Nuradin, Sarah Aisyah binti Syarul Zaman. In this topic, we are going to look at four major aspects, and that are: first, the difference between leadership and management; second, the effective leadership styles in education; third, novice teachers' issues and challenges; and lastly, school management issues. And I am Nur Fatini binti Zulgafar, and I will start the presentation today with the first subtopic, which is the difference between leadership and management. First of all, let's look at the definition of leadership and also management according to Oxford Learners Dictionaries. The first definition of leadership is the state or position of being a leader. And the second definition is the ability to be a leader or the qualities a good leader should have. While the definition of management, on the other hand, is the activity of running and controlling a business or a similar organization. And the second definition is the people who run and control a business or similar organization. So now that we have already looked into the definition of leadership and also management according to the Oxford Learners Dictionaries, I have also provided some other definitions that I found on the internet while doing the research for this topic. Okay, so these are some of the definitions of leadership and management according to UNRWA, the Wall Street Journal, and also Kotter. So, according to UNRWA, which means United Nations Relief Works Agency, leadership is focused on vision, motivation, the future, and the teams and people in your school. Management provides systems and processes essential to the smooth day-to-day running of the school. On the other hand, the Wall Street Journal said, while a manager's job is to plan and coordinate, a leader's job is to inspire and motivate. Lastly, Kotter 2001 believed that management focuses on control, while leadership focuses on motivation and inspiration. Now, we are going to look at the difference between leadership and management. Actually, I believe many of you can already see the difference between these two after we have looked at the definitions just now. But however, we are still going to look in depth. What are the differences between leadership and also management? The first difference that we are going to look into today is leadership has an influence relationship and management has an authority relationship, according to Ross 1993. Ross explains that influence relationship versus authority relationship is an important distinction because these differ due to the use of coercion. In his view, of influence means that coercion should not be used, but he believes that authority will use it regularly to get things done. Interestingly, Ross describes how the leadership relationship is multidirectional. What Ross means by multidirectional is that leaders influence followers and followers influence leaders too, as well as leaders being able to influence other leaders and followers influencing other followers. In management, however, it is explained that the relationship is basically top-down, and there is little influence exerted aside from that. And this brings us to the next point, which in leadership, leaders have followers, while managers have subordinates. In the concept of leaders and followers versus managers and subordinates, it is explained that leaders are not the same as managers. Being a leader does not automatically mean that person is in a position of authority. A leader leads from the front, while a manager believes in planning and coordinating the work and uses management techniques to manage others. Subordinates will be asked to obey the instruction of the manager by the virtue of his position or her position. Another difference between leadership and management is that leadership has a broader scope of activities and responsibilities as compared to management, which has a narrower scope of activities and responsibilities. For example, managers can be subordinates too. When they receive a task from their higher-ups, their responsibilities is to make sure that the task gets done, which may include telling people what to do. Managers will organize and pass on the job to their subordinates, in this case, the leaders. Here, the leaders will carry a bigger responsibilities than the managers. They will have to use their energy to inspire people to work together with them in order to get the job done. Okay, for an instance, JPN passes a task to PPD to collect the numbers of high school students in Selangor, for example. Then, PPD will pass on the task to every high school principal in Selangor to collect the data. So, from manager to subordinates and then passing on to the next person. The principal of each school will then pass on the job to the person in charge with the student's affair, for example. Lastly, this person in charge with the student affair will act as a leader and work together with the form teachers and collect the data that the higher-ups want. That is why leadership has a broader scope of activities and responsibilities as compared to management. Last but not least, in the terms of direction, leadership creates a vision and strategy, while management will do the planning and budgeting. For example, managers will plan the methods and tend to work within those methods or procedure, while leaders will tend to follow their own direction with their own strategy. In other words, managers do things right, but leaders do the right thing. That's all from me. Now I am going to pass the floor to Nur Kamalia. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Nur Kamalia binti Kamaruddin from ED 24178. So I'm going to be the second presenter for today's topic. So let's begin. So I'm going to present the second topic, which is the effective leadership styles in education. There are several leadership styles out there, but today I'm going to focus on these three leadership styles, which are transformation leadership, transactional leadership, and also instructional leadership. So the first effective leadership style that we're going to talk about is the transformation leadership. So what is transformation leadership? So according to Bass and Avolio, the transformation leadership is a style views relationship development as a crucial component of the work in the educational institutions. So this transformation leadership focus on the positive performance outcomes, including individual, group, and organizational level variables. For example, transformation leader can instill trust, admirations, loyalty, respect, in which it inspires teacher motivations and morale, which inspire teachers' motivation, morale, and performance. So what are the characteristics of transformation leaders? So the first one is inspire influence, or known as II, in which the leader needs to be a positive role model. In other words, the leader wouldn't ask followers to do something that she or he wouldn't do, and the leaders never say one thing and does another. And the second one is inspirational motivations, meaning that motivational leaders have this ability to motivate and inspire teachers. Combine I am with II, and this is the source of the transformational leader's charisma. The third one is individualized consideration, or known as IC. IC is when transformation leaders demonstrate genuine concern for the needs and feelings of teachers. This personal attention to each teacher is a key element in bringing out their very best effort and in developing the teacher's leadership potentials. The fourth one is IS, or known as intellectual stimulations, in which the leader challenges teachers to be innovative, creative, and there's a common misunderstanding in transformational leaders in which they are called soft. But the truth is that they constantly challenge teachers to higher level of performance. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So let's move on to the second stance. And the next one is transactional leadership. Is it related to transactions? Let's find out together, shall we? So according to Avolio, Wallebois, and Weber 2009, transactional leadership is largely based on the exchange of rewards contingent on the performance. So what does it focus on then? It focuses on the mutual benefits, in which the leader delivers such things as rewards or recognitions to the subordinates. It is commonly used between instructors and also students. Okay, for example, students are required to complete projects, assignments, or tests, and if they perform well, they will be awarded good marks or the ability to pass. Okay, so what about characteristic of transactional leadership? The first characteristic is micromanaging. It means that all decisions are financed from the transactional manager, but the responsibility of goal achievement also lies squarely on their shoulder. And as a result, transactional leaders tend to micromanage employees to make everything runs like accordingly. And the second one is laissez-faire, meaning that transactional leadership doesn't aim to change any of the process of the institutions. They want everything to stay exactly the same within the institutions, in which may seems like the leaders are passive or laissez-faire. The third one is reactionary, meaning that due to the importance of status quo within the institutions, transactional leaders are rarely proactive. Instead, they are reactionaries, only making changes within the departments or institutions when their hands is forced. Lastly is practical. Practicality and pragmatism are two of the staple transactional leaderships. They will make level-headed decisions based on the constraints and available information, and this rarely leads them to thinking outside of the box. Hence, the action give and take is the hallmark of the transactional leadership. Thus, it is indeed modeled just like a business transaction, so it's really correlated. And I know it can be quite confusing between transformational and transactional leadership. Worry not. So here is the differences between these two styles. So I think you can read on your own, right? So here it is. Alright then, as your confusion of transactional and transformational leadership style perish away into thin air, let's move on to the last effective leadership styles, which is instructional leadership. According to the National Associations of Elementary School Principal 2001, they viewed instructional leaderships as leading learning communities. So what does instructional leaders focus on? They focus on the learning outcomes by improving teaching qualities. For example, as an instructional leader advocates for effective teaching by providing clarities and support for the teachers, as well as procuring the necessary resources to maximize teaching effectiveness. Then what are the characteristics of instructional leaders? The first characteristic is communicating clearly, meaning that verbal and written communication skills are essentials to the leadership success. An instructional leader must be able to effectively communicate their intention regarding student education. Second one is effective planning. An instructional leader's ability to research and provide necessary resources improve learning and allow teachers to be more effective at their job. And the third characteristic is competencies, meaning that when teachers rely on instructional leaders for information associated with instructional methods, current trends in education, and other pertinent news related to effective teaching. And lastly, the characteristic is collaborative. It means that as the role ultimately responsible for the success of a school, and instructional leaders must be adept at uniting the staff and students to further the creations of new ideas and teaching methods. They must be able to create dependent teams that work together to create a more effective and positive learning environment. So, madam and friends, we can take a second and think, which type of leaders are you? So friends and madam, that is all for effective leadership styles in education. I'm going to pass the floor to Shafika Jensen.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. I'm Nur Shafika Jensen and I'm going to proceed this presentation with the third subtopic, which is novice teachers' issues and challenges. For your information, Nasuha and I will be covering on this subtopic. Before that, let me tell you the definition of a novice teacher. Okay, so I found three definitions. The first one is a novice teacher is a teacher who is in his or her first through third years of teaching. Okay, so in this stage, a teacher may have little teaching experience primarily acquired during an internship and also student teaching. Okay, and the second one, a novice teacher is a certified, credential, licensed professional educator in his or her first 3 years in the profession. And the last one is a novice teacher is a first career teacher who is beginning to develop a teaching philosophy, personal teaching style, and also classroom management in the classroom. So, for my part, I'll only be focusing on one of the most popular issues, which is the classroom management. Okay, before that, do you know what is the meaning of classroom management? Okay, so classroom management refers to the wide variety of skills and techniques that teachers use to keep students organized, orderly, focused, attentive, and academically productive during a class. Classroom management has been regarded as a serious challenge for novice teachers and even expert teachers. The challenge stems from many possible issues involved in managing a classroom. Okay, so as you can see here, there are some challenges and also factors that affect classroom management. Okay, in terms of environment, for instance, the high temperature in class, noises from outside the class, and also other factors such as overcrowded classrooms, inconvenient seating arrangements, and lack of insufficient resources. Okay, another factor that made classroom management difficult, especially for novice teachers at high schools, was that the students see them as a new teacher, young teacher. So, this caused serious implication because the high school students may act disrespectful toward them. An ace claim by one of the researchers named Pellegrino, novice teachers who are viewed by most students as new and not supreme authority in the classroom have a more difficult time establishing traditional authority in the classroom. Okay? Some other issues were related to students' language levels and attitudes toward the class. Okay? These issues included students who had difficulties understanding or expressing their ideas in English, unwilling to participate, and lack of attention and also motivation in class. Okay? This lack of interest and motivation, according to practicum supervisors at primary and also high schools, was sometimes accompanied by feelings of boredom and frustration, which then led to students being disruptive and caused other classroom management issues. Okay. Linked to the previous factors, there were other issues ranging from minor acts of misconduct, for instance like disruptive talking, tardiness, failure to do homework, to major acts of misbehavior such as yelling at each other, physical aggression, and also insulting or bullying other students. So, what can novice teachers do to be better in managing a classroom? Okay, as we can see here, there are two recommended approaches. The first one is traditional authoritarian approach. Okay, a lot of novice teachers claim that this traditional approach is quite effective. This is because they can control students' behavior in class by establishing and reinforcing strict rules from the beginning and reminding the students of the harsh consequences if they did not follow the rules. Approach typically involves talking louder to the students to regain their attention, writing notes in their notebooks so that their parents could see them, reminding students who was in charge, intimidating students with negative remarks or low grades, assigning extra work in class just to keep them busy, and at times getting into verbal confrontations with the students. Okay? And second is a more friendly approach, which is gaining the students' confidence and respect. Okay, so this approach is also appeared to be more effective at managing a classroom. Okay, in this approach, the novice teachers can do privileged actions such as building rapport, raising awareness among students about their behavior in class, motivating the students through positive feedbacks and dynamic activities, also involving the students in the classroom. Some of these actions can be associated with the categories of relationship, listening, and confronting, contracting to problem solving, characterized by the teachers being supportive while working collaboratively with the students to build a positive learning environment. Okay, so now we move on to the alternatives. Okay, in terms of alternatives, it is suggested that the education programs should offer the pre-service teachers more opportunities to be involved in authentic school settings. Okay, most pre-service teachers and some cooperating teachers claim that this could be achieved through different strategies, such as a course on classroom management with both theoretical and also practical components, more specific observation tasks prior to the beginning of the practicum, more supervision and feedback during the practicum, and spending more time in current school's context so that they could get more familiar with the classroom management policies. Then a lot of novice teachers also highlighted the relevance of learning from experienced and also expert teachers or successful novice teachers, which could be in form of seminars, debates, or talks. Besides of sharing their both positive and also negative experiences in classroom management, these workshops may also serve to highlight novice teachers' attitudes, such as being friendly and kind with the students, and familiarize them with the school context, especially in terms of guidelines and regulations for effective classroom management. In conclusion, it is known that classroom management is a serious problem for most novice teachers across primary and secondary school settings. The phenomenon of classroom management appears to be inherent to the teaching profession. So, with the alternatives shared, hopefully that the novice teachers will become more confident and smart in managing a better classroom. Okay, so I think that's all for me. Now I'll pass this presentation to Nasuha. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. My name is Nur Syahmina Nasuha binti Muhammad Afandi and I am from ED 2417A. Now, I will continue today's presentation with the second issue faced by novice teachers, specifically Malaysian novice teachers. It is implementation of school-based assessment. Firstly, let's take a look on the definition of school-based assessment. School-based assessment is a holistic assessment system conducted in school by subject teachers to assess the students' cognitive, which is their intellect, the students' affective, their emotional and spiritual, and the students' psychomotor, which is their physical aspects in line with Malaysia's national philosophy of education and the standards-based school curriculum. Among the important characteristics of school-based assessment are: firstly, it involves the teacher from the beginning to the end, from planning the assessment program to identifying and or developing appropriate assessment tasks right through to making the assessment judgments. Secondly, it can be adapted and modified by the teacher to match the teaching and learning goals of the particular class and students being assessed. Thirdly, it is carried out in ordinary classrooms. In a study entitled School-Based Assessment in Malaysia Schools, the Concerns of the English Teachers, Malaysian English Teachers' Concerns on the Implementation of the School-Based Assessment were investigated. The study was conducted in response to the shift in assessment system for Malaysian public school. The newly implemented assessment approach aims to promote a combination of centralized and school-based assessment to replace the previous fully centralized assessment. Through school-based assessment, teachers are given empowerment in assessing their students. Nevertheless, school-based assessment requires teachers to have adequate knowledge and skill in employing various informal methods of testing and psychometric testing. This is why school-based assessment becomes an issue for the novice teachers. The findings of the study indicated that new teachers with less than 5 years of teaching experience were uncertain about the school-based assessment requirements. Other than that, the new teachers in the study were not confident about their ability to administer school-based assessment and they were unclear about their roles as teachers. In addition, they faced difficulty in getting students understand the roles of students in school-based assessment besides expressing their concerns on the possible negative impacts the assessment would have on their students. Lastly, the findings of the study suggested that due to lack of understanding and training on school-based assessment, the participating novice teachers demanded for essential changes to the newly implemented school-based assessment system. What can novice teachers do to overcome this problem? Firstly, the researchers suggested for in-service trainings to be conducted for the novice teachers to acquire knowledge and skills on school-based assessment. Do you know what are in-service trainings or in-service courses? In-service courses were initiated by the Ministry of Education and its professional divisions. In-service courses required English as a second language teachers to leave schools for a certain period to attend courses which were believed to enhance teachers' existing qualification, to assist teachers in areas which they perceived to be challenging, and to further enhance teachers' existing skills. Then, these teachers were expected to share the information with their colleagues in the schools by conducting in-house training sessions on returning to their respective schools. In addition, it is also suggested for more practical approaches such as workshops and open discussions. The workshops or discussions could be conducted on the challenges and issues in implementing the assessment to be carried out to provide relevant information to the ministry in order to decide on the required modifications to the current assessments, policies, and guidelines. I think that's all for my part. Thank you.
So hi everyone, I'm Khairul and I'm going to be the first presenter presenting about school management issue. Our first issue is excruciating clerical and administrative demand. As we know, the job of a teacher is to teach, but today many teachers spend a lot more time doing many things other than teaching. The list of tasks teachers have to do is endless. When teachers are swamped with other things than teaching, it takes fun out of the learning. So for students, as a result, for students, they do not fully understand what they learn. Okay, so the first point is completing reports and other paperwork. This is the major complaint of all teachers in schools, whether they are in primary or secondary school. Their problem are teachers are preoccupied with reports and other paperwork, so they don't spend time with the student as much compared as before. Teachers need to spend more time with their students, but their heavy workload preventing them from organizing more activities such as a visit to charity homes or other community service with their students. Activities like this are important as they build character in a child. So have you ever heard of SPSK, VLE, PBS or Linus? Apparently, from the perspective of educational improvement, some educators think that all of these are either unpractical or unnecessary. Dealing with them, it seems that more clerical work are created. So when most of the allocated time is used for preparing paperwork or putting data entry into the system, the job performance of teacher will be compromised. Consequently, lack of job satisfaction has become a norm among government school teachers. So my second point is desk work. In Malaysia, desk work or clerical work has been heavily burdened upon teachers for decades. It is true that administrative work is only a minor portion of a teacher's responsibility in school, but treating them like a clerk or administrative staff is just a humiliation of the profession itself. In last year, December 13, Education Ministry announced that 50% of teachers' workload has been reduced by the implementation of Bestari 1net. But up to this day, their workload remained the same as more clerical work were created along with the technology. So, is this true that their burden are lessened, or is it just merely add-on of teachers' heavy workload? My third point is the unnecessary expectation of parents for teachers to attend to their children 24/7. Okay, so for teachers, they are the leaders in their own classroom, but somehow they are also slave to other people's needs. They are expected to do other works than teaching. For example, management for sports day, or even keeping track of the attendance. Did you know that if you are a class teacher, you need to know the reason why your student is absent? Okay, that's another additional job, isn't it? Okay, so this lead to teachers not being fully in the class. You know, they are there in the class, but their minds are not fully present there. So, I mean, how can you notice one student need extra attention or support when all you can think of is the deadlines you are chasing? That's impossible, right? So, the million-dollar questions. How do we overcome this situation? Okay, first, sharing is caring. We all know about the importance of lesson planning, right? And we also know that teachers will only need one lesson plan that can accommodate to use in multiple classes. Okay, so one of the things that you can do to manage your workload efficiently is to share resources. I mean, yes, of course, we want to plan the lesson ourselves since we are the teacher and we know our student best. But it is not bad to share it, okay? You don't necessarily need to copy the full content of the other teacher's lesson plan, but maybe just to share it, just to get inspired, and you don't have to construct it from scratch. Okay, so maybe the subject leader of the subject department, such as guru panitia of mathematics subject or English subject, can create a Google document link to put all the lesson plans in a place, so teachers can share it. The other thing that you can do is, yes, you can come out with your own spin of things just to get creative with your students and share it with your colleagues. And second point, teachers should not feel forced with deadlines. We know that in many workplaces, it does not happen in school only. Companies have the ugly rules that are within their culture. Teachers might think that they have to stay up late or even bring their work to home in order to meet deadlines. Sometimes this often due to poor management of schools, such as for example, schools or the management are late to tell you that the PPD are coming or evaluators are coming to do a social check on you or in your class. So this will lead to pile up of the document, right? So what teachers can do is to always splitting things into categories, such essential or put on pause. Essentials may be the work that are related to others, such as completing lesson plans to be checked by the principal, marking exam papers, or data key in. But the work that you can put in pause folder could be the work that are related to that you can do in your own time, such as come up with worksheet for students or even marking their books. So teachers should be the one in power to decide what to focus on first, as long as they are not forced to stay back, not having enough rest, not having enough me time. They should be okay splitting their jobs in their own condition and terms. Okay, the third tip is to know that teachers, it is okay to not be okay. It is okay to not feel okay and say no when your colleagues are asking for a favor. Everyone has targets and they need to achieve it. So we should understand if we ask for a favor and when they say no, we have to understand that. Likewise, we also should understand if other teachers cannot help us. It is common sense. Teachers, or if I may, novice teachers and trainee teachers especially, they are always the one who fell into the yes to everything web. They are always the one who need to do the little work, or who are asked to do the little works of their colleague, right? Well, personally, if you can help them, it is great. It is important to work together, but put a limit to it. Do additional things, offer additional help in your spare times without the need to put your own work on pause. In short, it is okay to admit that you cannot help others, as well as you also need to be understanding if they cannot offer you help. My last tips is learn to set your priorities right. This seems childish, but put everything on terms, whether you have to complete it daily, weekly, or in terms. Work on your own timeline so you will not feel too much pressure. Teachers should also improve in managing their own expectation and knowing when to let go. Expectations are crucial. I'm not going to deny that, because sometimes expectation can drive your motivation, but it needs to be managed well. A teacher once said that teaching is like flying kite. There are times that you have to hold it tight so that it won't be blown away, but there will be also times where you need to learn to let go so that it can soar up high in the sky. Guidance are important, but at times you need to let your students to explore and make mistakes on their own, because mistakes are sometimes also crucial for their own growth. Okay, that's all from me. Later on, let's take 5 minutes break to think of how parents can be helpful in lessening teachers' burden. As for now, let's move on to our next presenters, Naziha.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. I am Nurul Naziha binti Nuruddin. The school management issue that I would like to highlight in this presentation is the communication gap between parents and school. Okay, it takes a lot to manage a school and to do it properly. First of all, school management involves making sure that every unit or every stakeholder of the education system is functioning at its best and is able to collaborate with one another in order to achieve a common goal, which is to ensure the success of the students. So in education, the term stakeholder typically refers to anyone who is invested in the success and the welfare of a school and its students. So some examples of stakeholders in education are the school administrators, the teachers, staff members, parents, students, community members, and others. Okay, school management requires a lot of communication and collaboration between the stakeholders. That is why it is important for the school administrators, the teachers, the students and parents to be able to work or communicate within their group as well as to one another. Remember that if there is a communication gap, there will certainly be unmet expectations and dissatisfaction at one end. Okay, in view of this issue, I would like to show you a video that went viral back in February where a religious school teacher was allegedly forced to crawl in the classroom by a mother of one of her students. So let's have a look at the video first, okay?
Kenapa pula perlu ajak anak-anak murid? Semalam anak-anak murid dah buat kan? Ustazah nak kira Ustazah? Akak ni kira tak pandai. Anak-anak murid tak payah ikut lah. Saya bukannya suruh anak-anak murid buat. Anak-anak murid semalam semua dah buat kan? Ustazah dah suruh kan buat kan? Kira Azrul? Jom. Kau jawab? Tak kisahlah Ustazah, pusing sekeliling sekolah ke, sisik keliling ini ke, pusing keliling meja masalah dah mencederakan Ustazah. anak saya sampai takut nak pergi sekolah tau.
Kenapa yang lain tak sedia?
Manalah saya tahu, sekarang berlaku kat sini, sampai rumah terus dia bagi tahu tau.
Mungkin anak puan cedera daripada sekolah pagi.
Tak ada. Dia balik daripada sini, lepas saja. Adila mana?
Ada, tak datang.
Kalau ada Adila ada bukti. Sebab dia tunjuk pada Adila selepas tu sebab nak ambil air solat dia sakit. Betul tak?
Okay, based on the video, it is believed that the mother was unhappy that her child was made to crawl in the classroom the day before. However, the real reason as to why the teacher punished the student was not revealed. Nonetheless, the internet was in an uproar over this issue, and generally speaking, the public took the teacher's side because the mother's action could be deemed as downgrading or challenging the professionalism of teachers as a whole. Okay? Enraged, the public urged the school management team to sue the mother in order to defend the teacher. The Ministry of Education was also called to take action over this issue. Unfortunately, the case simply ended with a meeting between the school authorities, the teacher as well as the parents, where the mother apologized to the teacher. Okay, of course, we don't know the whole truth about the incident, but the problem here is that some parents only listen to their kids, even though they don't know if the kids are telling the truth or not. Logically speaking, there must have been a good reason for the teacher to punish the student in the first place, right? So this case is a concrete evidence of communication gap between the parent and the school. Instead of barging into the classroom, attacking the teacher, and on top of that, recording the incident, the mother should have confronted the teacher and discussed the matter properly. A harmonious discussion should have taken place between the mother, the teacher, as well as the school authority or the principal himself in order to find solutions to the issue, right? So if the teacher was at fault, the school principal would have taken proper measures towards the teacher, right? So if only there were effective communication back then, the video would not have to go viral. Of course, social media amplified the situation, making it worse. People mock the mother for her actions because her actions could be deemed as downgrading and challenging the teacher's professionalism as a whole. But do not forget that the situation could also impact the students psychologically. So we don't want that to happen, right? So, what could be done to bridge the communication gap between parents and school? My suggestion would be to develop a parent-school communication strategy. Perhaps the school could conduct a survey on the parents to find out details as to where, when, and how they would like to receive information from the school. And this goes both ways. So teachers as well as the school administrators could also be transparent about their communication goals with the parents. Okay, by doing so, it serves as a platform to build a good rapport between the school and the parents. This could eventually lead to better communication between both parties. Other than that, the school should implement the open door policy, meaning to always be welcoming whenever a parent approaches with a question, a suggestion, or even a complaint towards a teacher or the school management perhaps. Okay, most importantly, the school management and as well as the parents should always remember to avoid the blame game at all costs. Okay, make sure that whenever any interaction take place, it should start and end on a positive note. Always remember to be kind to each other, use polite words, and always listen to both sides. So this is important especially for the principals, because the principal could not take or make any decision by only listening to one side of the story. Yeah? So remember that if there is any grievances, there is always a correct way to discuss about it, to solve it without having to scream without having to cause a scene at the school. Okay, remember that fostering positive interactions between the school and the parents has ample benefits towards the students and their relationship with both parties. On a side note, teachers as well as trainee teachers should know by now that there are strict rules and SOPs before we are allowed to punish students, right? So there is a special guideline endorsed by the Ministry of Education in regards to this issue. So if you would like to know more about this guideline, you can just click the link that I put in the slide. Okay, so I think that is all from me for the second issue of school management. So let's move on to the last issue.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Sarah Aisha binti Shairuzaman and I am the third and last presenter for issues in school management. For my issue, I would like to talk about the implementation of technology. Now, some of you might be wondering, how does school management relate to technology? Well, a statement by Tan 2016 in his paper Technology Usage in School Management Electronic School explains the relationship clearly. Today, advanced technology affects not only practices, teaching and learning processes, but also it has begun to transform management process in education radically. Here, it goes to show that in the 21st century, that technology and school management goes hand in hand. Next, let's look at how does technology affect the school management process. Relating back to the issues in school management that were presented earlier, we can say that the implementation of technology can help solve certain parts of these issues. For instance, the abundance of paperwork that was under Kairo's issue can be solved by using online systems. Using online systems such as APDM, Aplikasi Pangkalan Data Murid, and SSQS, Smart School Qualification Standard, can help reduce the amount of paperwork teachers have to go through. Next, Naziha mentioned communication gap as an issue. Well, by using technologies such as email, text, and classroom management software can help improve parent-teacher communication. Now that we've covered the effects of technology on school management, we can move on to the question why implementation of technology is a school management issue. There are a few reasons for this. First is the teacher's attitude towards it. Tan, in his paper, mentions that the success of technology integration depends on the teacher's demands, their attitude, and behavior. This means that problems can arise if the school wants to use technology, yet the teachers don't. Next is the lack of ICT skills. Many teachers are actually cool with the idea of implementing technology in school management. Well, this is probably due to the fact that technology actually helps them more. However, they do not have the skills to use them. So, this would be an issue for them if they can't use the technology. Okay. Lastly is the lack of facilities and funds. This is true for many schools in Malaysia. There are many rural schools that do not have labs or computers. Then, how are they going to implement technology in school management? Here are some recommendations to help solve the issue. First is that schools should promote technology acceptance to their teachers. By having technology acceptance, it means that the teachers have awareness and motivation to use technology willingly. Having taught programs about the benefit of technology is a way to promote technology acceptance. Next is to equip the teachers with the needed skills to use technology in school management. To gain such skills, the school should send the teachers to ICT-related training programs. Lastly is to use the government allocated funds for some much needed school upgrades. Looking at the Belanjawan 2020 and 2021, I can see how the government is trying to aid schools in Malaysia. In 2 years, the total allocated sum for schools raised from 652 million ringgit to 800 million ringgit, with an addition of 725 million ringgit for schools that are in dire need. This shows that they are aware of how much schools are in need, especially in this COVID season.
And that's the end of our presentation. To recap, today's presentation is on leadership and management in schools. The 4 subtopics that were discussed are difference between leadership and management, effective leadership styles in education, novice teachers' issues and challenges, and lastly, school management issues. We hope that you enjoyed our presentation and thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye!